if you want to do something, you just have to know that you can make it happen, but it's probably on a longer time horizon than you expect. So when people set arbitrary goals of like I have to be at this point by this time, or I'm not good enough, I'm useless, I'm never going to impress my parents, whatever it is, whatever the thing is that you're working towards, you just have to know that you got to get rid of that arbitrary like pressure that you're putting on yourself and set a longer time horizon.
Hello, everybody. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a Take the Doughnut interview with Jordan Davidson, who is a singer and vocal coach at Mindful Singers, coming to us all the way from Thailand. Hello, Jordan.
Hello, how's it going, everyone?
So glad to talk with you today. We have some serious questions to get to, but before we do that, I have to ask, what's your favorite donut?
I like the strawberry filled ice, like what do they with the icing sugar on top? So good. Yeah,
Oh,
especially like a
nice.
nice fresh craft one. I like going to those like little craft donut shops. So good.
Awesome. I love it. Is there anything local in Thailand that's like a similar type of product?
Uh, mm, Not really. Like anything like that, they're just gonna steal it from the Americans.
Okay.
Yeah, they do have like Dunkin' Donuts and stuff like that. It's pretty popular here.
Okay, fair enough. So they just
Yeah,
took the franchises straight over.
yeah. They actually have Tim Hortons too. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's
Yeah.
A Canadian franchise. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay. An international melting pot of donuts.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So I said just a little bit about you up front, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
What should we know about me? Oh, okay. Well, my name's Jordan. I am 32 years old. I have a wife and a kid, and I recently moved to Thailand because we wanted to live somewhere with a little bit more like family values and stuff like that. It's a really great place to raise a kid. Lots of It's kind of like growing up in the 70s, I think, for like back in North America, where like it's very safe, the streets are very safe, there's children playing everywhere. It's a great place. I'm a musician. I'm a singer. I've been singing for 20 years. I've been a vocal coach full time for 4 years, and I own a company called Mindful Singers, where I like to bring the most up-to-date, advanced scientific research when it comes to the voice with practical mindfulness to make it so that it can allow singers to really build themselves as artists as well.
Okay, wonderful. So many cool things about that background. Now, today's conversation is really all about going after opportunities. So I'm going to reset this for folks who haven't heard of Take the
Cool.
Donut before. Take the Donut is, for me, another way to say carpe diem. It's about going after the
Cool.
things that you want in life. For me, it started with this strange thing that happened in college where I left an actual donut on a table, but that became an object lesson for me and what it looks like to leave an opportunity behind. So now I would rather take the donut than leave it on the table. I'll link a video here with the origin story for those who haven't seen it. But so basically, this whole conversation is going to be about what does it really look like to go after opportunity in life for each
Yeah.
of us day to day. So for
Yeah.
you, Jordan, how are you with going after goals? What's that process like for you?
That process for me is I will write out my goals for the year. So I'll make at the first week of January every year, I'll make a vision board of all the things I want to accomplish that year. And then I will have a kind of an ongoing to-do list that I write down like multiple times per week. And then I just check the boxes off. And I try to be really clear and concisive on what do I need to do each day to move the needle forward. Just because as an entrepreneur, you can get really caught up in the weeds. There's a lot of little things to do each day. So I try to be really focused on what are the top three things that I need to do every single day to move the needle forward. And then as long as I'm accomplishing something within those three things, at least like two out of three of those things every day, then I know that I'm moving forward and that I am going to accomplish my goals. On a long enough time horizon, I've got to the point now where I know that if I do the little things every day over a long enough time horizon, like the results will come. Like no matter what, they just will.
That's a really good way of breaking it down. I like it because you've got the big picture and the little details all
Hmm.
rolled up together and it
Hmm.
stays consistent with that. So I
Yeah.
I like that you've got that process. When you have a really big goal and you know it's going to take a while to get there,
Hmm.
what keeps you motivated in that process?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like a really big goal that I've accomplished recently is for the last year and a half I've been saying that I'm gonna make in-person live lesson content. And that's been like a big thing for me. I'm like, I really want to do this. I first saw Cheryl Porter doing it. It was really inspiring. I thought that would be such great content to make. And it got to the point where it was feeling really discouraging, where it was like, I don't know if this is ever going to happen. Like now I'm living in Thailand and it makes things more challenging. And but I kept talking about it to people who had connections and knew people and that could make it happen. And then it just got to a point where like I just talked about it to the right people and they said, "Hey, I know a guy and we know a guy and we can do this." And then the pieces just kind of came together. So I would write it down on my list of like my content goals long term, like quite often, and I would look at it, and then I would just talk about it until it just like came to be. So I find when I'm focused on something enough, at least in the back of my mind, even through those moments of discouragement, which happen quite often, um, at least once every 3 months, I get very discouraged, and I'm like, I don't even know if I'm on the right track, and blah 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 blah. As long as I keep focused on it, and I know in the back of my mind, like this is gonna happen eventually, I'm gonna make this work. It typically tends to just happen. I think people call that manifestation, but yeah, it just sort of works itself out.
For you, when you're telling people about like in that process when you were telling people that that was what you were aiming to do, was
Hmm.
that helpful for you because it was those people were checking in on you and there was accountability there, or was it just you speaking it aloud that helped for you?
It was definitely both. So I have a really good friend here in Bangkok who's a higher level vocal coach. He works with a lot of the really famous Thai singers, and he knows everybody. He's like connected into the Hollywood here. So I would talk to him and just say like, hey, this is the type of content I really want to make, and I think it would do so well, da da da. And he's like the guy that has all the connections. He's one of my best friends here. Um, and then he just said like, hey, one of my students is a videographer and da 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 da, and he's really interested in what we're doing and how we're like bringing modern science to the singing industry and all this stuff. We should go out for food. So we went out, and then it just like one conversation was like, okay, what do we got to do with it? What are the logistics? Let's make this happen. Yeah. It also was so I had another friend because for me like I'll have these big bright ideas. I'm like I'm gonna do this thing, but like all the little pieces don't really come together until I talk to the right person. So I had a friend he's a famous actor here in Thailand, and I was talking with him. He's also a videographer and he does producing, and you got to do a lot of things if you want to succeed in the entertainment industry. You can't just be one thing. So he's like also done film and all this stuff. And I was like, what would be the logistics if I made this actually happen? Like, what would that look like? And then he broke it down for me. He's like, you would need one camera guy and a guy there watching for the editing and this and this and he broke down every detail. And I'm like, and then it kind of like made sense to me. So when I did have a conversation with the right guy, I knew exactly what to talk about and what we needed to plan. And then it just happened. We're like, let's set a date in the calendar. Let's get some students and let's just do it. Yeah.
It's
And then
amazing what can
yeah,
happen when you involve other people.
yeah. I hate doing things alone. I'm not a solopreneur. I don't enjoy it. I have a small team like a back end person who helps me with all my brainstorming and marketing, and then I have a virtual assistant. I don't like doing stuff alone. I like talking to people and having conversations. Yeah.
Well, okay, so with that in mind, when we go after big goals, a lot of times challenges come up, obstacles come in our way. For you, is there a specific brand of challenge that just seems to keep coming up over and over again, no matter what you're working on?
Hmm. Interesting. Could you rephrase that question?
Yeah, like, is there an Achilles heel for you? Like, no matter what goal you're going after, this is a hurdle you know you'll have to overcome. It could be something
Yeah.
environmental, it could be a personal
Mm.
thing, it could, like,
Yes.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that my voice isn't invincible because it's an organic instrument, and I have to use it to demonstrate, and I have to use it for speaking and living life and being a dad and everything. My voice just it has its limitations, and I wish it was invincible. I really do. I do my very best. I use great vocal technique. I try to speak as healthily as possible. I try to take really good care of myself, and still environmental factors will happen. You know what I mean? Like a cold. Because I have a kid, so I get sick like way too often. I told you about the pollution in Bangkok, the environmental factors. all these little things just like they affect my ability to like be able to sing all the time, which I wish I could, and to be able to use my voice more. Like for example, like I'm limited to 20 students in my studio because if I taught more than that, I would most likely tire my voice out.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting constraint to have, and you
Yeah,
have
and
to
it's a
really
physical.
maintain it
Yeah.
on a long-term basis.
Yeah, you gotta be really mindful. Yeah.
Mm.
Like if you overuse your voice, yeah, it's you'll just be tired and then you just can't use it properly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so if you think back on your life, anything that's happened personally or professionally, what would you say is the biggest donut you've taken, biggest opportunity that you went for?
The okay, there's been quite a few, but in relation to what I'm currently doing, 4 years ago, it was during lockdowns, just hit in COVID. I was living in Thailand, and I had a vocal coach in Canada who needed a teacher to replace her old teacher. And we had one of our lessons. We were doing an online Zoom lesson, and she told me, she said, "Hey, I need somebody to teach in my studio." At this point, she knew that I wanted to be a teacher one day. It was on my vision board from like 2015 or something like that. I told her. She was sort of grooming me to be a vocal coach, kind of planting the seeds that I can do it and everything like that. But I was convinced because of another mentor I had years prior. I was convinced that the only way that I could become a teacher is if I went to university and studied and got my master's degree and all this stuff. That was the path that I was convinced I needed to take. But she told me otherwise. She said, "No, you only need to be about 15-20% ahead of your students to be able to teach." And she's like, "Just do it. Just I believe in you. You can do it." And then I was terrified. I was like, "There's no way I can do this." And my wife was like, "Yeah, you can do it. Like, just go for it." So I did. And then she threw me into the deep end with 15 students and just made me figure it out. I just had to figure everything out. She wasn't willing to teach me without me paying her to her hourly rate to help me be a better teacher, which is it was kind of ridiculous because I was teaching her students at her full price and I was making 20% commissions. But anyways, it was all good because it forced me to like really figure this thing out and have to like start taking courses and programs and hiring people who were more skilled than she was once I could afford it because I wasn't making any money at the time. But it really forced me to like go into like deep self learning to figure this thing out. And because I was a singer, like I sang in a band for 7 years and I was a musician and all this stuff, but I didn't really know how I was singing or why I was singing or what was the anatomy or what was. I didn't understand any of it. I was just like, I know how to sing. Copy me. This is how I learned to sing. Just copy what I do. But I had to like really figure out this thing and reverse engineer it. So which I still am. Like I still have lots to learn.
It's really interesting. It's like you had like the training wheels for the program, but like an incentive to take them off right away. It's
Mm-hmm.
like move
Mm-hmm.
on this quickly so that you can
Yeah.
sustain this.
And I was teaching kids, and then we went online. So like I think I did 3 in-person lessons, and then it was like, okay, next wave of lockdowns, everybody's online. So now I'm teaching 4-year-olds over Zoom. It was crazy, and
That
like
has to
four to
be
12-year-olds over Zoom. It was crazy.
That's tricky too, because then you don't, it's hard to know like what processes need to then carry over when you're not unlocked. Like you're learning the
Mm-hmm.
processes to teach it
Mm-hmm.
to begin with, and
Yeah.
then you have to unlearn them a little bit once things
Yeah.
open up again.
Mm-hmm. Well, that kind of opened me up to completely going online. So I became because I wasn't making money teaching those 15 students. I was only making like maybe $400 per month USD. I had to go into freelancing. So I started freelancing on Fiverr. And I set a goal to be the number one vocal coach on Fiverr within a year. And then I hit that goal within 6 months. And that was just because people on Fiverr, there was a lot of vocal coaches on Fiverr at the time, and they were busy because everybody was in lockdown. So everyone's like, I'm going to be a singer, I'm going to be a musician. So that's how I kind of really got the reps in was being a freelancer. Yeah. But what came out of that is everybody got familiar with online learning and everybody became really comfortable with it. So now I've built like a very steady and growing business just teaching online, teaching people all over the world, which is fantastic.
That's wonderful. So, something I love about how you're talking about all of this is it sounds like, when I say take the donut, it makes it sound like it's one thing at a time. But for you, it seems like it's everything sort of is blending together, that it's a constantly moving wave in a way, and you're just
Hmm.
finding the right place to be on it. Um,
Yeah,
it sounds like you've needed to be very adaptable
yeah,
when you're going after
totally.
the things that you want.
Yeah,
Is
and I still am. Yeah, yeah.
What would you say is a donut that you're taking right now?
I oh, a donut that I'm taking right now. Interesting. Well, the biggest one is doing these ongoing in-person live lessons. This has been a real big stepping stone for me. I went through a lot of growing pains and kind of growing experiences in 2024 of really trying to figure out who I am and what I'm about and what I want to bring to the world as a vocal coach. And so the biggest challenge that I'm going through right now, I guess taking the donut, taking the challenge is I'm taking my vocal coaching skills to the next level to really truly understand the physics. And so three main things when it comes to singing: psychology, physics, and anatomy, and understanding like biomechanics, understanding those three things in as much detail as humanly possible with the most advanced up-to-date research possible. And my mentor's helping me with this, so that I can be one of the best vocal coaches on this planet. And the only way that I can do that is to really, 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 really have an in-depth understanding of how all of this works and how it all works together in unison as like one interconnected system, if that makes sense. And then bringing this together with my existing approach, mindfulness, so that I can allow singers to really shine and be the artists that they truly are. And my job isn't to teach them all the anatomy and the physics and stuff. That's not their job. They don't need to know that. I need to know that so that I can allow them to be the artists that are truly within. Does that make sense?
It does.
So so
Yeah.
that's a big growing experience. This is going to take years to develop. I'm like I'm at a race right now with AI. Hopefully, I don't think AI is going to replace vocal coaches just because it's not a lucrative enough business to replace us. The investment that it would take to build a sufficient enough vocal coach would be like $500 million, and like this industry is maybe $50 million industry. Like it wouldn't make any sense.
Wow, what a journey that you're on
Yeah,
to
it's cool.
hone your craft, and hone other people's crafts as well. So there may be people who are listening to this who have a donut of their own that they want to take, something that they want to do. Maybe it's just an idea right now, or maybe they've started and they're looking for that motivation to keep moving forward. So let's sprinkle some encouragement. What would you say to those people?
you if you want to do something, you just have to know that you can make it happen, but it's probably on a longer time horizon than you expect. So when people set arbitrary goals of like I have to be at this point by this time, or I'm whatever, I'm not good enough, I'm useless, I'm never going to impress my parents, whatever it is, whatever the thing is that you're working towards, you just have to know that you got to get rid of that arbitrary like pressure that you're putting on yourself and set a longer time horizon. So I always say to myself, I have these goals of like, yeah, I want to be so great and like the best coach and all this stuff, but my time horizon is like by 40. I'm 32. You know what I mean? I have 8 years still to get there. So I think extending your time horizon and not setting unrealistic expectations is a really important aspect of not burning yourself out. And also, this is another thing too, understanding like, I know there's a lot of people out there, like a lot of bros that say like burnout and stuff isn't true. Well, it is. It's a biological response to overstress, like overstimulation and stress. So like these things are real. So like go easy on yourself. You know what I mean? Like when I was in my 20s, I was convinced that if I didn't accomplish everything within 12 months, I was useless. So like just go easy on yourself and have a longer time horizon and you will get there as long as you are persistent. Like you will reach the goals as long as you're persistent.
I love that. It's a really concrete tip, and I think it's basically helping people not to set up for failure. The
Mm-hmm.
goal might be achievable, but the timeline has to be doable also. And
Yep.
when you're thinking about setting your own time horizons, how do you know how much time is enough time?
How do I know how much time is enough time? I don't think I
Yeah.
do. I don't think I do know. Like sometimes I get a little bit concerned about like, the advancements in AI and all this kind of stuff, and I get a little bit nervous and I'm like, how's this gonna, not even on just like the what if it replaces me? It's like, well, what if it replaces 50% of the middle class, the people who pay my bills, Like things like that do concern me at times, but at the same time, you just got to focus on what you can control and just do that. Just focus on what you can control, do the thing, enjoy the thing. Especially, I would encourage people, anybody out there with ADHD, which there's quite a few of you out there, make sure you really find something you care about and that you're passionate about and that you love, and make that your focus. And like really, really focus on that. Because I have a lot of friends who are incredibly successful, and they do things that they are not passionate about, not even 1% passionate about, but they do it just because they want to, they just want to like build something and be the leader in their lives and make a bunch of money, and it works, and they're really really successful, and they're multi millionaires making way more money than I'll ever make, but but it doesn't matter. They don't have to be passionate, but they're just doing the thing. They're just building the thing. Yeah, because they
Beautifully
enjoy
said.
building stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. For those who want to follow you on this journey, which sounds like a really interesting journey to follow you on, where can they find you? What links should I put in the description?
You can find me if you go to any social media channel and you type in at mindful singers. So MindfulSingers, mindful singers. You'll find me anywhere. So I'm most active on Instagram, but I cross post the same videos on like every single platform. But yeah, you can follow me anywhere. Instagram's a good place though, because then you can join my broadcast channel where I post updates. You can see my stories. You can send me DMs. We can chat. So yeah, if anybody's interested in working together, if you want to just binge my content, go follow me on Instagram.
Oh,
One last thing, I wanted to mention something that I didn't mention, that you mentioned, like a big donut I'm going through. On a physiological level, I found out 4 months ago that I have a vocal fold condition called vocal fold paresis, and it means my nervous system has been affected in the nerves in my vocal cords, in my right vocal cord, and this happened from a virus. I don't know when what virus it was. I've had a few illnesses here in Thailand that I've never had back home, so that could have caused it. But basically, my right vocal fold is only working 70% of its normal capacity. So now when I sing, it's crazy because I'm actually becoming a better singer even though I have this condition, and my technique is improving although I have this condition because I have a really good coach. Without him, I would be really 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 upset and stressed out, and this would be very discouraging, which has affected my confidence a few times because kind of to get that kickstart to get my voice going, you know what I mean? Like it takes a little bit longer than it used to because my voice isn't operating at 100% of its capacity. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges mentally I'm going through right now, is like I have this thing that could take up to a year to go away, and I got to be really patient for my voice to like come back to its full capacity. But it's encouraging to know that once I do work through this, my voice is going to be like 15% better than it's ever been. So, or 30% better than it's ever been. So, but that's
what
a big challenge for me.
what an interesting. Thank you for sharing that very personal journey that you're on. I mean, obviously this is going to deeply affect what you're doing.
Hmm.
And it's interesting that you can sort of I used to do gymnastics, and a lot of times when somebody would get hurt, one part of their body was hurt, and that might limit you from doing certain events or certain skills. So you'd work
Hmm.
harder on the other stuff. So sometimes people's weaknesses became strengths
Yeah,
when they had fully rehabbed and they were back ready to go, because they had put so much time in and so much
yeah.
energy into the stuff that was not as strong. So it sounds
Hmm.
like you're sort of finding ways to do that with your
Yeah,
vocal
yeah.
cords.
Yeah, it just makes things more challenging. Like for example, like the allergies. Like allergies never used to really affect me too much when I sang, but now because of the vocal fold paresis, if I have allergies plus the paresis, now it makes it like it's so much more. It takes so much more time, so much more. I gotta rinse my sinuses, gargle with salt water. I gotta steam my voice. I gotta do all the healthy warm ups. I gotta really really take extra care. But it's fine. Like I said, my technique is improving, which is exciting. So although I have this condition, I'm getting better, which is awesome. So, and I got to give a big shout out to my mentor Jay, because if it wasn't for Jay, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So he's been like the person in my life who's really really taken me to the next level.
This is so good to hear. Thank you for sharing that. And to everybody who's listening to this, make sure to follow Jordan at Mindful Singers everywhere, including Instagram.
Hmm.
I'll put links in the description as well so people can find those as easily as possible. And if you liked hearing Jordan's story, be sure to like and subscribe on this video. There's so many inspirational interviews still to come. But Jordan, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with
Yeah,
all
thank
of
you.
us about taking the donut.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, and to everybody who's watching, go out there, get inspiration, get donuts. Bye,
Take care.
everyone.